Now, just about half an hour ago, the two leaders are said to have sat down for their summit talks. No details on that meeting have yet been released, but the schedule for the day was also confirmed and announced earlier, about an hour ago. So for more on that, we can now connect to our Blue House correspondent, Hwang, who is standing by at the Seoul Media Press Center. Hojun, what do you have for us?
Well, Jangho, just about an hour ago, the presidential senior press secretary Yoon Young-chan briefed the media, and he noted there were a lot of first times today. This is the first time Kim Jong-un has ever held a bilateral summit in Pyeongyang since he came to power in 2011. It was the first time for the North Korea's first couple to have greeted a foreign dignitary at the airport, and of course, it was the first time an event in Pyeongyang was ever beamed live to Seoul. President Moon Jae-in and Kim Jong-un started their bilateral meeting at 3:30 p.m. And according to Yoon, the location is the Workers' Party of Korea headquarters. After the summit meeting, the two leaders will then attend an art performance by North Korea's Samjiyon Orchestra and singers. It is expected that South Korean pop singers Zico and Ailee, composer Kim Hyung-suk, and magician Choi Hyun-woo will also participate in that performance. A welcome dinner will then follow, which is expected to end around 9 p.m. Korea Standard Time.
Now, we did see some live feeds today after President Moon's departure from Seoul Air Base. Going back to President Moon's arrival, Hojun, what was memorable about that you can recap for us? And also, what has been the reaction from the press center as well, especially with the additional footage coming in now?
Okay, Jangho. Well, this was the second time the reporters have watched a live encounter between President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. So definitely the reaction here at this whole media press center was a bit subdued than that of April. But still, definitely all eyes were glued to the screen that you see right behind me. While we did anticipate Kim Jong-un to greet President Moon at the airport, many did show some excitement as Kim Jong-un and his wife, Ri Sol-ju, emerged and walked towards the South Korean Air Force One. The two leaders flashed wide smiles and embraced one another as the crowds of North Korean citizens waved flowers, the North Korean flag, and a unification flag which depicts the Korean peninsula as one. And as I said earlier, it's quite unusual for a country's leader to greet a foreign counterpart at the airport. And this is North Korea that we're talking about. The last time a North Korean leader greeted his South Korean counterpart was in the year 2000 during the very first inter-Korean summit between former President Kim Dae-jung and Kim Jong-un's late father, Kim Jong-il. The welcoming ceremony, which lasted about 15 minutes, was highly choreographed as the two leaders reviewed the North Korean ceremonial guards while the military music blasted and the crowd cheered. But probably one of the most striking images we have seen so far was the two leaders' motorcade from the airport to Baekwawon State Guest House, the same venue where former Presidents Kim Dae-jung and Roh Moo-hyun both stayed when they visited Pyongyang in 2000 and 2007, respectively. Thousands of North Korean citizens were lined up on the sides of the streets, waving flowers as President Moon Jae-in and his North Korean counterpart rode in an open-topped Mercedes through Pyongyang. And when they got there, the first couples of both Koreas entered the state guest house together.
Yes, it really was quite an extraordinary spectacle, but beyond all the pomp and circumstance, can we expect any formal agreements like the ones in the past?
Well, that is still unclear. Although we did hear from Presidential Chief of Staff Im Jong-suk yesterday that if all things go smoothly, we can expect a joint press conference given by the two leaders, explaining the results of their talks tomorrow. Yoon Young-chan said this morning that more important than statements or another agreement is that the two Koreas continue their regular dialogue. And take a listen.
The president said we are at a stage of institutioning peace from the routine of the threat of war. We are looking to earn peace, an irreversible and a lasting peace in the region. We aren't looking for declarations or adding more agreements. Instead, we are moving forward a new era based on the agreements made.
In keeping close communication with the U.S., Yoon said it won't be easy to do so during the three-day summit, but Yoon stressed that President Moon will in fact brief President Trump in person on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York next week. Back to you.